Students, I start the chapter supply for you. The chapter is supply. This chapter will be quite easy for you if your knowledge of demand chapter is quite sound. If you can recall, if you can remember all different concepts that you have studied in demand chapter, then this chapter will be comparatively very easy for you. So I start with the first thing, that is meaning of supply. What do you mean by supply? See, demand is on the part of consumers, supply is on the part of producers. Then supply of a commodity refers to the quantity of the commodity that the producer is willing to produce and offer for sale in the market at a particular price during a particular period of time. I repeat, supply of a commodity refers to the quantity of the commodity that the producer is willing to produce and offer for sale in the market at a particular price during a particular period of time. Now, supply is of two types: individual supply and market supply. Individual supply and market supply. Very easy to understand because you have studied this kind of thing in demand chapter. Individual supply of a commodity refers to the quantity of the commodity that is produced and offered for sale in the market at a particular price during a particular period of time by one individual producer, only one individual producer. So this is individual supply. Now, market supply. Market supply of a commodity refers to the total quantity of the commodity which is produced and offered for sale in the market by all the producers in the entire market at specific different prices during a particular period of time. I repeat, market supply of a commodity refers to the total quantity of the commodity that all the producers, not one or two or three, all the producers in the entire market are willing to produce and offer for sale in the market at specific different prices during a particular period of time. Next, the next topic in this chapter is differences between stock and supply. Differences between stock and supply. There are mainly two differences here. Two differences. The first point of difference between stock and supply is stock of a commodity. Stock of a commodity is the total accumulated, stored quantity of the commodity that can be taken to the market for selling. It is the total quantity, accumulated, stored quantity of the commodity that can be taken to the market for selling. Whereas supply is a part of the stock which is actually taken to the market for selling. Supply of a commodity is a part of the stock which is actually taken to the market for selling. Okay. Second point of difference. The second point of difference is stock of a commodity has no time dimension. Stock has no time dimension because stock is expressed at a point of time. Like on today's date, suppose on a particular date like 27th of April 2020, in the godown or storehouse of a producer, the record is made how much quantity of the commodities are there in the godown or storehouse. This is recorded. This is the stock. So stock has no time dimension. It is expressed at a point of time. It is not expressed per unit of time. Whereas supply has time dimension. Supply has time dimension because supply is expressed per unit of time. Supply is expressed per unit of time. Supply is not expressed at a point of time. Supply can be expressed per unit of time, like per day, per week, per month, like this. That is why we say supply has time dimension. Supply has time dimension. So these are the 2 points of differences between stock and supply. Done. Now I come to the next topic, which is actually a topic of 6 marks question. What are the determinants of supply, or what are the factors affecting supply, or what are the factors on which supply depends? In these versions the question can come. There are several factors here. I'll discuss all these factors one after the other. Like the first one, number 1, own price of the commodity. Own price of the commodity. That's very easy. See, this is supply is on the part of the producer. Supply is on the part of the producer. Then, when the price of a commodity rises, when the market price of the commodity rises, then obviously the supplier, the producer gets motivated, because as the market price rises, if we assume that the cost of production will be the same and the market price rises, his profit margin increases, and this profit is like an incentive. It's like an incentive, motivation for the producer. And as profit increases, he would be, or she would be, the producer would be motivated to produce more and supply more in the market. Thus, here the bottom line is, as price rises, supply rises, and when the price of a commodity falls, supply falls. This is the first factor. Number 2, input prices. What do you mean by input or inputs? Different factors of production: laborers, raw materials, electricity, etc. These are the inputs or factors of production. Sorry. Now, if in the market these inputs or different factors become more expensive, that means more costly, then what happens? The total cost of production increases. Now, if we assume that the market price remains the same, but the input prices are increased in the market, then the cost of production increases, and then we find the profit margin decreases. Suppose here, this is the market price, here it was the cost of production. As the input prices increase, the total cost of production increases, so the profit margin decreases. Now, if the profit margin decreases, no producer, no businessman likes that my profit is decreasing. Now, if the profit margin decreases, then this will be demotivating him. Demotivation this will be, and the producer would supply less in the market. So we find, if inputs become more expensive, if the cost of inputs, price of inputs in the market increase, then total cost of production increases, profit decreases, supply decreases. So this happens. And you may think about the opposite consequence, the opposite situation. When the input prices fall, there is a decrease in the input prices, cost of production falls, profit increases, and so supply increases. The next is techniques of production. Technology, method of production. If the technique of production becomes more advanced, modernized technology is used, modernized technique is used, then what happens? Obviously, more amount, more quantity of the commodity can be produced in lesser time at lesser cost. And this will lead to more production, more supply in the market. So, if advanced technology, modernized technology is implemented or employed, then more will be supplied in the market. Next, number 4, prices of related commodities. See, similar type of point or a factor determining demand you had in the demand chapter. But there, related goods were something else. In the chapter of demand, when we had dealt with prices of related goods, then related goods means, there in the demand chapter, substitutes and complements. But here, in supply chapter, it's something different. Here in supply chapter, when we say about this point, it's something very different. Prices of related goods. Often it happens that it is possible for the producer to switch over from one line of production to another line of production. And if the producer finds that the related type of goods which can be made with the same type of resources, if the prices of the related type of goods in the market, are higher in the market, or prices are higher, then this particular producer would be attracted towards that type of production, that line of production. So he may switch over from his current line of production to that line of production. And then what would happen? He would stop this production. Thus, as a consequence, the production and supply of this commodity would decrease, and the production and supply of those commodities to which he is moving, to which he is switching over, that production, that supply would increase in the market. So, this is how prices of related goods, related commodities can affect the supply of a commodity. I'll give an example to illustrate this. Suppose I am a producer who has been making or manufacturing or producing toys. Okay, pencil box, I have been manufacturing pencil box and tiffin boxes with the help of plastic as a raw material. And for the last 10 to 15 years I have been doing this. Now, of late, very recently, I have made a survey in the market. And making that survey, I found that toys can be made with the same type of raw material which I am using, that is plastic. And the prices of toys in the market are higher. Like a pencil box, a tiffin box is sold at an average price of maybe 50 rupees, 60 rupees, 70 rupees maximum. Okay. But the price of a toy which can be made with the same raw material, suppose the price is rupees 150, 170. Let's see, that price is higher. Then this will induce me to switch over from the production of tiffin boxes and pencil boxes to the production of toys. If that is done, then the production and supply of toys in the market will increase because one more producer is going to that line of production, and the production of tiffin boxes and pencil boxes would come down. This happens. Next, goals of the producers, goals of the firms, G-O-A-L-S, goals. Goals means, the word goal means aim, objective. Generally speaking, the aim or the goal of most of the producers or most of the businessmen is what? Profit maximization. That's the main common aim. Profit maximization. Now, that's very obvious, very common thing that if more and more profits can be earned, then more and more quantity will be supplied in the market. That's very obvious. But we find there are some producers who aim at something else. What is that? That something else as a goal, as an objective, can be sales maximization. Sales maximization. That means to increase by sales. Instead of focusing on profit maximization, if the producer focuses on sales maximization, if this happens, then what would happen is he would be having a tendency to produce much more and supply much more in the market. Because, see, if the goal, if the aim is sales maximization instead of profit maximization, then surely he has to supply more in the market. Because unless he supplies more in the market, how can he sell more? So this is how goals of the firms or goals of the producers affect the supply of a commodity. Next factor, nature of the industry of the product. Nature of the industry of the product. See, if the industry of the product is a monopolized industry, monopoly industry. I hope you know monopoly. Monopoly means one firm dominating in the market. Only one firm is there. Then, if it's a monopoly firm, monopoly industry, then maybe that he deliberately, intentionally will restrict the supply at present. You know why? If the monopoly seller or the monopoly industrialist restricts the supply, doesn't release it now, the customers, the consumers, the buyers would become very restless to buy. And there's no option for them. They have to come to him to buy the commodity. And taking the advantage of this situation, this monopoly seller may increase the price more and more, taking the advantage of the situation. This is why he can restrict the supply. On the other hand, if the industry is not a monopoly industry, it is a competitive industry where many firms are there, and all these many firms are competing with each other. So if the industry is a competitive industry, there would be no such thing called hoarding or restricting the supply. Rather, every competitor, every industry or firm, every firm would try to sell more, supply more in the market, so as to sell more, to beat the rivals. This happens. So this was nature of the industry. Next factor, natural factors. The next factor is natural factors. This particular factor is applicable in case of agricultural products in the market. Agricultural products. Like if the natural factors, that means climatic conditions, temperature, humidity, rainfall, all these are favorable for the production of a particular crop, are favorable, then the production will be more and so supply will be more. Whereas if the natural factors, climatic conditions are not favorable, rather unfavorable for the production of a crop, then the production would be less, supply would be less. The next factor is policy of taxation and subsidy. Taxes and subsidy. See, taxes you all know, taxes are taken by the government from the companies, from the firms, from the people. What is subsidy? S-U-B-S-I-D-Y. Subsidy is when the government gives a part of the cost of production of a firm. When the government gives a part of the cost of production to a firm, to a company, this happens. We have many industries to which the government gives subsidy. Like the LPG industry, liquefied petroleum gas, Indian, HP and the other Indian oil.